Hello, I'm Jacqueline McInnes Wood, and welcome back to my official channel.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline McInnes Wood and welcome back to my official channel. But honestly guys, I don't even know how to process what I have to tell you today. It's a lot. Let's get right into it. So my fingers are literally cramping right now. It is something like 3 a.m. I have lost track of time entirely. I have had maybe 4 or 5 cups of the most stale, disgusting coffee you can imagine. The kind that just tastes like burnt dirt and regret. But I can't sleep. Nobody in the city can sleep after what just went down tonight. I am sitting here typing this as fast as my hands will physically allow me. My editor is screaming at me through my phone. My inbox is exploding. But you need to know, you need the raw, unfiltered truth right now. Because tonight, the fashion world didn't just see a runway show, they saw a bloodbath. Literally a nightmare, an absolute catastrophe that is going to change the Logan and Forrester families forever. And I mean forever. There is no coming back from this. None. Let's just back up for a second because my brain is scattered. The context, you all know the history. The endless, exhausting feud over Eric Forrester's designs. Eric promised them to Katie. Or at least that is what Bill Spencer has been screaming from the rooftops for weeks. Bill has been so arrogant about it, standing there in his expensive suits, looking down his nose at everyone, telling his own son, Will, you can't steal something that you own. Bill was utterly convinced that those designs belonged to the Logan brand because Eric allegedly abandoned Katie. So Bill, being Dollar Bill, decided he was going to take them and use them to make Katie a queen. Katie just wanted to win. You have to understand that she has spent her entire life in Brooke's shadow, always the younger sister, always the one getting her heart broken or her company taken or her moment ruined. This was supposed to be her night. The official kickoff of the new Logan fashion house. She was going to step out on that stage and prove to the entire world, and especially to Brooke and Ridge, that she was a force, that she owned those designs, that she was a visionary. But Brooke, oh man, Brooke was not having it. She had reached her absolute limit with Katie's drama. And Ridge, he is a Forrester to his core. He protects the legacy. He protects Eric. They were completely livid. They were never, ever going to let Katie and Bill just parade Eric's stolen work down a runway without a fight. They wanted to play dirty. They wanted a spectacle. They wanted to humiliate Bill and Katie in front of the press, the buyers, the entire fashion elite. But I don't think they wanted this. God, I hope they didn't want this. So the event is happening. The venue was packed wall to wall with celebrities, influencers, fashion critics. The music was thumping, that heavy bass that just vibrates right in your chest cavity. The lighting was gorgeous, sleek, modern, intimidating. Katie was up on this high podium at the end of the runway. She looked incredible. She was holding the original sketches of Eric's designs in her hand, like a trophy, like a shield. Bill was standing near the front row, looking like a king who just conquered a new country. Smug, defiant, ready to watch his woman shine. And then, boom, pitch black. The power didn't just flicker. It didn't just dim, it was cut. The entire building went dead in a fraction of a second. The music stopped so abruptly, it actually hurt your ears. The silence that followed lasted for maybe half a second before the murmurs started. People were confused, shuffling their feet. Some people laughed nervously, thinking it was part of the show. Energy, avant-garde transition, but it wasn't a fuse. It was a deliberate, calculated sabotage. Brooke and Ridge had hired someone to cut the power to the entire grid of the building. And then came the sound. In the pitch black darkness, it sounded like 1,000 pigeons taking flight all at once. A massive fluttering noise coming from the ceiling. And then things started hitting people. Softly at first, raining down on the audience, hitting their shoulders, their faces, their laps. People started pulling out their phones, turning on their flashlights to see what was falling from the sky. And the beams of light cut through the dark, illuminating thousands and thousands of pieces of paper. They were fluttering down like toxic snow. I grabbed one. Everyone grabbed one. They were photos, glossy, high-resolution photos and blown-up documents. And they were damning. They were massive, glaring accusations of copyright theft against Bill Spencer, exposing the entire dirty secret about Eric's designs, detailing exactly how Bill allegedly stole the intellectual property. It was a targeted, brutal hit, a masterstroke of public humiliation orchestrated by Brooke and Ridge. They wanted to destroy the Logan brand before it even took its first breath. People were gasping. The flashlights were darting around frantically. The murmurs turned into shouts. The press was going crazy. It was chaos, absolute unadulterated chaos. But then the night went from a vicious corporate prank to a literal crime scene. A scream, a piercing, bone-chilling, horrific scream that cut through the noise of the crowd like a knife. It didn't sound like a gasp of surprise. It sounded like pure primal terror. It echoed in the dark cavern of the venue. It was Katie. I know it was Katie. And then a thud, a sickening, heavy, wet thud that you could actually feel vibrate through the floorboards. It was the sound of a human body hitting the hard runway from a terrifying height. Someone pushed her. Someone was up on that high podium with her in the pitch black, and they pushed her off. The back of emergency lights suddenly flickered on. Those harsh yellow halogen bulbs that make everything look sickly and terrifying, and the sight. God, my stomach is churning just typing this. It is permanently burned into my brain. Katie Logan, lying there on the cold, hard, white floor of the runway, twisted at an unnatural angle, not moving, completely still. And the blood, there was so much blood. It was pooling around her head, dark and thick and spreading fast, staining the pristine white floor, creeping toward the shoes of the front row guests who were now screaming and backing away in horror. And the most heartbreaking, poetic, tragic part of the entire gruesome scene, her hand, her fingers were curled tight. In a death grip, she was still holding the original sketches of Eric's designs. The very thing she had been fighting for, the very thing that caused this entire war. The paper was getting crumpled in her rigid grip, and the edges were soaking up the blood, turning the brilliant fashion sketches into a morbid, terrifying mess. And Dollar Bill Spencer, the man who thinks he is a god among men, I have never, ever seen him like this. The arrogance was completely, instantly wiped from his face, replaced by pure animalistic terror. He completely lost his mind. He dropped to his knees in the blood. He didn't care about his custom suit. He didn't care about the cameras. He was screaming, Gautet, just raw, guttural, throat-tearing screams. Katie, he was looking around wildly at the crowd. His eyes were wide and manic. He was frantically searching the faces of everyone in the room, looking up at the empty, dark podium, searching for the person who just tried to murder the woman he loves. He looked like a wounded bear ready to tear the entire building apart with his bare hands. Who did this? Who was up there? He kept screaming, spit flying from his mouth, his hands hovering over her broken body, terrified to touch her, terrified to make it worse. Thank God Finn was there. John Finnegan. He had attended the event, probably just trying to support the family. But the second he saw her on the floor, he just kicked into full doctor mode. He shoved his way through the screaming, panicking crowd. He practically threw a photographer out of his way. Finn dropped down onto his knees right next to Katie, sliding into the pool of blood. His face was like stone, completely serious, tense, focused. He didn't hesitate. He reached out and pressed his fingers against her neck, desperately searching for a pulse. Bill was hovering over him, grabbing Finn's shoulder, shaking him. Is she breathing? Do something. Save her. Bill was completely unhinged. Finn just stayed focused. He ignored Bill's screaming. He leaned his ear close to Katie's mouth. The medical suspense was suffocating. The entire room seemed to hold its breath for a second while the doctor worked. Is she alive? Is she dead? Did we just witness a murder on a live runway? And while Finn is on his knees in the blood trying to keep Katie tethered to this earth, another massive explosion happens. Will Spencer, Katie and Bill's son, he was there. He saw the whole thing. He saw the lights go out. He heard his mother scream. He saw her hit the floor. He saw the blood. You have to understand where Will's head is at right now. His brain is already a fragile, chaotic mess. He has been fighting with his parents for days. He literally just went to Spencer Publications and confronted Bill and Katie. He accused them of being thieves. He yelled at them about stealing Eric's designs. He told them everyone at Forrester thought they were criminals. He was so angry at them. And now his mother is bleeding out on the floor. His brain just snapped. It just completely shattered into a million pieces. The guilt, the horror, the rage. Will turns around, his chest heaving, tears streaming down his face. And who is standing right there? RJ Forrester, Bridges' son, Eric's grandson. RJ was just standing there near the edge of the runway, completely frozen, staring at the blood, staring at the thousands of photos accusing Bill of theft that were littered across the floor. Maybe RJ knew about the sabotage plan. Maybe Ridge told him they were going to cut the power. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was just as shocked as the rest of us. But in Will's eyes, in that exact moment, RJ wasn't just a rival. RJ was the enemy. The Forresters were the enemy. They were the ones who claimed the designs were stolen. They were the ones who hated Katie. They were the ones who stood to gain from this. Will didn't even think. He didn't say a word. He just lunged. He threw a massive, brutal, full-force punch right into RJ's face. The crack of Will's knuckles hitting RJ's cheekbone was so loud it echoed over the sirens that were starting to wail outside. It was a sickening sound of violence. RJ's head snapped back. He stumbled backward, completely blindsided by the attack. He almost tripped over a chair. He raised his hand to his face, looking at Will in absolute shock. And Will just screamed at him, his voice cracking, his face twisted in a mask of pure agony and hatred. Murderers. Will screamed, pointing a shaking, blood-spattered finger at RJ. You Forresters are murderers. You did this. The whole room just stopped. Even with Katie dying on the floor, even with Bill sobbing, that accusation just hung in the heavy metallic smelling air. Murderers. And you know what? It's not just about the designs. It's never just about the business with these families. It is deeply, intensely personal. Will and RJ have been circling each other like angry wolves for weeks now. And it all traces back to Electra. Electra Forrester, Will's ex-girlfriend, the girl he still desperately loves. The girl who completely rejected him because he made the stupid mistake of kissing Dylan. Will has been trapped in this miserable emotional limbo, completely unaware of the fact that Ivy Forrester actually manipulated the entire breakup. Ivy stole Electra's letter. Ivy planted the broken necklace. Ivy destroyed Will's relationship. And who has Electra been getting cozy with while Will suffers? RJ. Yeah, RJ. They just went on a romantic moonlight swim together. They were taking selfies on the beach, sharing sizzling moments, getting closer and closer while Will is losing everything. And Will knows that RJ has been dragging his father's name through the mud. RJ accused Will of being a double agent for Bill and Katie. RJ stood there and judged him. So when Will saw RJ standing there while his mother bled, it was a perfect storm of hatred. That punch wasn't just for the stolen designs. It was for the sabotage. It was for Electra. It was for the smug Forrester superiority. It was for his mother. It was years and years of the Forrester-Logan rivalry boiled down into one violent, devastating swing of a fist. And the irony of it all, where is Dylan in this mess? Dylan just accepted a job at Forrester Creations. Steffi hired here. Elektra threw a massive screaming fit in the showroom, demanding Dylan quit. But Dylan refused because Dylan needs the money. She is terrified of being homeless. And Dylan is currently sitting on the biggest secret of all. She overheard Ivy and Daphne talking. Dylan knows that Ivy stole the letter. Dylan knows the Forresters manipulated Will's life. But Dylan is keeping quiet. She is choosing her own survival and her job security over telling Will the truth. She is letting the guilt eat her alive while she tries to pursue a romance with Will. But how the hell is Will going to look at Dylan now? She works for the Forresters. She is taking a paycheck from the very people Will just publicly accused of being murderers. If Will finds out Dylan knew about Ivy's sabotage and said nothing, he is going to destroy her too. This punch changes the trajectory of every single relationship on this canvas. But back to the crime scene, because that is what it is. Who pushed her? Brooke and Ridge planned the blackout. They planned the photo drop. They wanted to ruin the night. They wanted to expose Bill. But did they plan the push? Did Brooke get so consumed by her rage, so fed up with Katie's defiance, that she used the cover of darkness to shove her own sister off a high ledge? No. I am trying to be objective here, but I just can't believe that Brooke is ruthless in the boardroom. She can be incredibly vicious with her words. She destroys marriages and companies, but physical murder, pushing her own flesh and blood to her death, that's too far. Even for the most vindictive version of Brooke Logan. But if not Brooke, then who? Ridge. Ridge is fiercely, blindly protective of Eric. And Bill and Ridge have hated each other for decades. They have nearly come to blows multiple times recently over this exact issue. Did Ridge take the opportunity in the dark to physically eliminate the threat? Did he decide that exposing Bill wasn't enough, that he had to silence Katie permanently to take back the designs? Or was it someone else, someone hiding in the shadows? What about Sheila? Sheila Sharp is always lurking. She is a literal psychopath. She has been busy lately showing up at Taylor's door with flowers peering through locked windows, trying to catch Deacon and Taylor having their secret affair. Sheila is calculating. She is dangerous. Maybe she was at the fashion show. Maybe she saw an opportunity to cause massive chaos and frame the Forresters. Who knows how her twisted brain works? Or maybe Ivy. Ivy has been manipulating Elektra and Will's lives from behind the scenes, threatening Dylan, pushing people around like chess pieces. Would Ivy go so far as to push Katie to protect the Forrester legacy? Right now we have a massive whodunit on our hands, a bloody, horrific, tragic mystery. The smell in that room, I keep thinking about the smell. It was this sickening mix of expensive designer perfume, hairspray, the ozone smell of the blown electrical circuits, and the sharp metallic tang of fresh blood, and the paparazzi, the absolute vultures. Most of the guests were screaming and running for the exits, terrified that a killer was loose in the dark. But the photographers, they stayed. They were snapping photos of Katie's lifeless, bleeding body. The flashes were going off like strobe lights, illuminating the blood and Bill's tear-stained face. Bill was trying to shield her. He ripped off his expensive suit jacket and tried to cover her, his hands getting completely coated in his own wife's blood. Finn was barking orders, yelling for someone to call an ambulance. Though I think at least 10 people already had their phones out dialing 911. The sirens were wailing in the distance, getting closer and closer, but it felt like an eternity. Every single second that Katie lay there on that floor, it felt like the entire Logan family legacy was bleeding out with her. I can't wrap my head around it. My brain is fried. You go to a high-end fashion show to see clothes. You go to sip champagne and critique hemlines. You do not expect to see a brutal homicide attempt. Because make no mistake, that is exactly what this was. Attempted murder in front of hundreds of people, but executed in the pitch black. It was the perfect crime. The timing was way too precise. The power cuts, the distraction of the thousands of papers falling from the ceiling, the immediate push, the scream. It was calculated. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. And poor Will. He is just a kid, really, trying to navigate this crazy cutthroat corporate world, trying to figure out his messy love life. And now he is throwing violent punches and accusing his lifelong rivals of murder. This trauma is going to completely destroy him. If Katie D's, God, I don't even want to type those words. But if she doesn't make it, Will is going to go on a scorched earth warpath. He will destroy Forrester Creations. He will destroy